Booyah. I think we're live. I hope we're live. Let us know in the chat if you can hear us and see us. But I'm Nicole. I am a certified nutrition coach, former fat girl, living and promoting the low carb lifestyle. I'm joined by my new friends, Pim and Jamie Bennett, and we're going to do a quick introduction, and then we're going to get started on just telling a little bit about our backgrounds, how we transitioned to low carb, and answering any questions you have. If you do have questions, please put a Q in front of the question, so it makes it easier for me to find and pop up on the screen here. So Pim, why don't we start with you with a quick introduction, your background, what led you to eating this way, and then we'll move on to Jamie.
Right. So, yep, I'm Pim. I'm the carb addiction coach on Instagram. I put it there because you guys are watching me on my other media, and some people don't even know that I have an Instagram that I'm actually using. So feel free to go there. Um, I I started doing low carb probably close to maybe 17, 20 years ago. And that was following actually doing my master's degree in nutrition. And that was not what they were teaching there, but I had a classmate who was doing the Atkins diet. And she was the only classmate I had who was somewhat overweight. And she was like praising it to the gods. And the teachers were like, yeah, it works, but it's not a healthy way of eating. But that piqued my interest. So that's kind of how I got into it. That's the quick version. And from there, I noticed that sort of took care of my cravings. Obviously, that was something that wasn't sustainable for me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing because then I had already found my solution and I didn't. But I was sold on low carb as a way of feeling better, having less inflammation in my body, being able to do my work as a personal trainer and group instructor much better. Because I used to have a lot of inflammation, waking up every morning and feeling really stiff and sore. Like I felt like I was 80 years old or whatever. So yeah, that's the short version. That's how I got into it. That's how I was sold on the concept.
Sweet. I like the Atkins diet. My mom did that back in the 80s and she had a lot of success on it. But of course, we all know Atkins was, demonized and shunned because fat is supposed to make us fat, right? That's what the thought process was. So my mom stopped doing Atkins diet because of that.
Or
And
I
then
have to
gained all the
tell you
weight back.
something. When I tried it the first time, I had so much fat on my plate. And I was like, I literally had heart pains. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get a heart attack. And I probably generated that with my mind. And I was like, oh, it doesn't feel good. And it took me several days until I got over that.
That's fun. uh, so Jamie, how about you? I know you have this whole Lyme disease and all these chronic issues that you suffered from. What led you to? I think you're doing keto. You said.
Yeah, like a ketovore kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, very different than Pim. I'm still visualizing your teacher in this school, right? And you're supposed to be learning about the perfect pyramid and making everybody eat grains and low carb or low fat, and then here you come in and you decide you're gonna do Atkins or learn about that. That's pretty amazing. Yeah, I call myself a ketovore. I definitely am heavy into animal products, but I do, put some low carb vegetables in there.
What kind of vegetables?
Balance it. Avocado is my big go-to.
Mine
So,
too.
yeah, even if I'm doing carnivore, I won't go more than 2 or 3 days, and then I'm like, I need an avocado added in there badly. But yeah, it was my health that got me into it. I followed all the rules. In college, I was, on the low-fat diet. I remember my brother and I would make macaroni and cheese boxes with water, and it was low carb, and you could lose fat that way, right? And the fat-free mayonnaise and you think you're doing good, and people don't realize what's happening to them on the inside. But yeah, eventually it took a turn with my health and with, autoimmune disease and Lyme disease. And I needed to look for something else because modern medicine wasn't cutting it. It was time to bring diet in. And that's when I realized that, going low carb and putting yourself into a ketogenic state is the way to go.
Sweet. So you eat avocados and what is your carb intake? Do you track your carbs at all or no?
Yeah, I try to keep them below 25 grams always.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
even
it's the
that's
same
on the
here.
high end for me.
That's the same here. What's going on, carnivore trucker? What's going on, Chris Grady? Put the cake down, dude. Put the fork
Yeah, it wasn't
down.
distracting at all when you got it up on the screen while
I was
Jamie
I
was
know,
talking.
I know Jamie was talking. Jamie was talking and I was trying not to laugh.
You were laughing, and I'm like,
Sorry.
"What?"
I said trying. So
I want to know if that chocolate cake is made with carnivore crisp flour.
it's
Because if you
not.
guys tried that, I just made. I know I was being a smart ass, but I just bought their chicken flour, loving it. Made waffles.
I'm sorry, you said chicken flour?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That sounds
Carnivore crisp.
nasty.
No, it wasn't. You just have to put a lot of spices in it. So I'm addicted to their crisps.
You're
And
addicted?
I
Good,
am.
because that's part of what this conversation's about.
But it's not sugar and it's not carbs, so I'm allowed. And they're pricey though. I mean, it's like anywhere between 10, $15, and I eat one in the sitting, and I'm still hungry. But they came out with flours, and I love it. I was able to use their chicken flour to make waffles that I use as bread, and then you put your your meats and your cheese, and you have a carnivore meal. I usually put avocado on it though, so.
You should send us the recipe.
Oh, I absolutely will. I got it off of their website, but yeah, it's good. Just
So
lots of
Chris,
spices.
so Chris said it's made with eggs, so it's okay to eat. Yes, but I'm sure there's also a ton of sugar and other stuff in there, but it's still okay to eat. Go ahead.
Maybe yesterday one of my clients, she came on a group call and she put up this beautiful chocolate cake with cream on top, and she's like, apart from like the sweetener and the chocolate in there, it was completely carnivore. And I'm like, it doesn't look like it. I haven't. She was making it for her YouTube channel, and if you're sneaky, you can ask me for where it is because I don't remember exactly. She's called Carnivore Hippie anyway,
Oh,
but she's
I'm
doing
familiar with her.
certain things. Yeah. And I'm really impressed with what it looked like. I have no idea what it tastes like, but she said she had been working on it for 2 years to perfect that recipe, so it better be good.
Do you know 5 Minute Body?
Yeah.
5 Minute Body was talking. I was watching her interview with No Carb Life, and she was talking about a cake she made, a carnivore cake she made. I was like, I didn't even know you can make carnivore sweets. It just doesn't sound good to me, like chicken flour. Like that sounds un-American. I'm just saying.
But at least chicken flour claims to be what it is. Like I
That's
don't
true.
want chocolate put in that. Can you
Do they
imagine
have-
biting into a muffin thinking it's going to be chocolate and taste like chicken? Like
No.
there's trust issues right there. So I'm just wondering what that cake tasted like.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Pim, do they have chicken flour in New Zealand?
No, I
With
don't
that
think so, but
face.
I have made it myself to make pizza.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
there you go.
Oh, that sounds gross too. Okay, so
All right, so
So-
you just not eat pizza because I made a. Have you heard, Pim, of the meatza pizza?
Yes.
Where the crust is all meat. I did that. Was it Friday?
It's too meaty for me.
And it was heavy, but I put sausage and chicken and eggs, and
Ooh.
I think the crust alone was like thousands of calories, but it was awesome.
Hashtag worth it.
Yeah.
So Dim says carny for 5 months, but I've added in some avocado, blueberries, romaine lettuce. I've been concerned about oxalate dumping, so that's why I added the plants. Under 20 grams total carbs. Will that help? Personally, I eat avocado and berries. I actually just bought blueberries today. Romaine lettuce, I mean, you should be okay. Like the oxalates, you really, in my opinion, would have to worry about the oxalates truly if you eat hordes of it. Like if you eat a lot of leafy greens, but if you're just having a little plate of romaine lettuce like once a day or here and there, you should totally be fine. 20 grams is great for your carbs. I'm definitely under 20 grams, but I wouldn't recommend going over 20 grams, but I personally think you're okay with that. I don't know if Pim and Jamie have any opinions on that.
Because I know Dims. I think what she's worried about, it doesn't it doesn't look like it in this, but I think she has been worried about dumping when she's been zero carb, and that's why she's added them.
Yeah.
So I don't think any of these contain a lot of oxalates
No.
to prevent the dumping. So, but like you don't need a lot. If you have 1 cup of tea, or if you eat like 2 almonds, or just a little bit of cocoa or something, that would be enough to prevent the dumping. So I'm just not sure if any of these actually have pretty much any oxalates
Not
to add
really.
to it. No, it's a very low oxalate load on those things that you mentioned. So maybe just look at making sure that you get something with a little bit of oxalates. And we're talking a tiny amount. You don't need to eat like a mountain of sweet potatoes or something.
Yeah,
No.
I usually say just a couple nuts.
Yeah.
So Chris says, you had me at chocolate cake. I'm just messing around anyway. I do the 4-min body, save a minute. You're fired. What's up, semi-retired Bob?
Hiya, Bob. Good stuff.
I made a cheesecake once with goat cheese, heavy. Is that living cream? Whipping cream?
Whipping cream.
Whipping cream? I want to know what living cream is. Is that a trucker term? And then brown butter and blueberries. That sounds delicious.
Interesting.
I do have 1 cup of tea. I should be good. Thanks, ladies. Yeah. Sweet.
That should be enough. That's what Sally says anyway, and I trust Sally. She's awesome.
Yeah, Sally is very knowledgeable on oxalates. What's up, Whitgo's Carnivore? Sweet. So I came to low carb. I'm similar to Jamie. I'm ketovore, I guess, if I have to classify myself. I do eat berries, like I said. I do have avocado here and there, and sometimes every once in a blue moon I'll do green beans, but that's about all I do. But yeah, I was clinically obese, diagnosed. I was about 200 pounds. So I was about 85 pounds overweight. Sleep apnea, high blood pressure. Likely pre-diabetes, never diagnosed, but I wouldn't be surprised. So I, similar to Jamie and Pim, am educated in nutrition and credentialed, and this went against my training. So I was actually scared. I never ate beef or red meat before switching to ketovore. I ate a ton of lean, like ground turkey, chicken breast, all the lean meats, but I steered away from all the red meat. I ate egg whites, So I came across Sean Baker and Ken Berry, and then did my own research outside of my training. And the more and more I uncovered, the more pissed off I got with my training. But ever since I switched to low carb, I feel better in my 40s than I ever did in my 20s and 30s. My inflammation's gone down. I'm not bloated. My digestion is corrected. I no longer have sleep apnea. I no longer have high blood pressure. Like I'm super healthy. So yeah, I would classify myself as a ketovore for the most part.
Yeah, it's that energy, isn't it? That's what I love. The first time I got that energy spike, I was like, this is insane. I'm never eating carbs again. I love it. So
yeah,
especially if I'm going to have carbs, it's definitely not during the work week when you're working, 12-hour days. You need that mental clarity.
Yeah, that afternoon slump that they talk about.
Yeah.
So Jamie, how did you transition? What did your transition look like? Because I get that question a lot, and I know there's some people in the chat, like someone's 5 months in. So how did you transition to ketovore? Was it straight from the standard American diet to ketovore, or did you have it in between?
No, I was more paleo, but then I realized, grains don't sit well with me. Sugar doesn't sit well with me. So the more I started to remove those, it was like, okay, I just started to realize how low carb I was. And then I felt really good. I spent a weekend. I did the whole crazy girl thing where you spend a weekend, you read about it, you jump in with 2 feet. Got the keto flu, felt like shit. but it's when you turn that corner. That's what I tell people. I'm like, right when your head hurts and you're like, this is awful. I'm not doing this. And all of a sudden it flips. And then you're like, I'm good. Let's go paint the house. Who needs sleep? So absolutely.
Jamie's promoting insomnia. Drop the stream likes.
Who needs sleep? Just Eat a piece of beef and move on.
Yeah, if you need your
Or
house
cake.
painted, just go low carb.
Just go low carb. Seriously, it's the mental clarity. When I sit at my desk and it was just, how many cups of coffee did it take? And your eyes get blurry. And I just was like, and then when I went true keto, like hardcore and a lot of carnivore, it was like my husband come down. I'm like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing what you need, what you need. I got you, I got you, I got you. You just, it's awesome.
Damn, you're stressing me out, dude. No, I did notice on one stream that someone said that they sleep less on carnivore, and I am noticing, because I never really paid attention because I always slept like crap, but I am noticing that getting 5 hours of sleep, I feel better now getting 5 hours of sleep than I did a year ago getting 5 hours of sleep. So I do notice that my sleep quality has improved. I'm still not getting 7-8 hours, but I am also of the belief that not everyone needs the same amount of sleep, because that's where we do our repair, recovery, and all that stuff. So I think that's person dependent and depending on your lifestyle and what you have going on. So I don't think everyone needs 8 hours of sleep 100% of the time. But that would stress me out. Getting 5 hours of sleep would stress me out because I thought I needed 8, but I feel better getting 5 hours now than I did not doing low carb.
I'm with you. I have been very stressed out about how little sleep I'm getting because I used to need 8-9 hours every night, and then all of a sudden 6. If I'm lucky 7, I'm like, this is not good for my health.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you, I have an Aura ring, so it's measuring my deep sleep, and on low carb, I have so much more deep sleep, for sure.
So how did you transition, Pim, to low carb? Or are you a carnivore or a keto? I don't know. What would you classify yourself?
I would probably say ketovore. I can't.
Yeah.
I say I can't do zero carb because I get insane headaches and migraines that don't go away. I am trying intermittently, and I think I'm gonna do a new experiment very soon because I have been treating what I think, I don't know, I haven't had it diagnosed, but I think I've had like fungus in my sinuses for a very long time. So I'm thinking that maybe since I've been treating that, maybe I can do it if that is like playing a role in giving me those headaches and migraines. And I think maybe like if you starve a fungus and you don't give it any sugar, maybe it just has a fit.
Yeah.
And it's up here. So then that would give me a headache. And I'm just trying new things. I've been thinking like it's hormones because it's easy for me to get a headache around my period. And I've been looking at my blood sugar in the beginning. I thought, okay, well, this seems to always appear when I'm going down to the low 70s. But then all of a sudden that didn't seem to ring true anymore. So I'm just trying different things. And even if it sounds like it's just like a very weird theory, I'm just going to try it. So that's my next experiment. I'm just sort of coming back home from my holidays, and I'll take a week, and then I think I'll dig into it and see what happens.
I like how you call vacations holidays. I wish we can call vacations holidays.
You can.
You can, but people will be like, what holiday is it? Christmas? Thanksgiving?
I'm going to go on holiday.
Yeah. So Jamie, this is like your area of expertise, right? Like what Pim was describing, like menstrual cycle and all that. Because I know you talk a lot about carbs and that time of the month. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I was chomping at the bit while she was talking.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about it's your microbiome shifting and detox when you do it?
Yeah, that's what I'm suspecting that plays a role. But like people say, yeah, you should just write it out. But I had constant headaches and migraines for 6 weeks before I gave up. And then it took me almost 2 months to get back to normal. So I'm not doing that again. It's not worth the pain.
Yeah, I was with you. It took me a long time to get where I could go past 1 day of just carnivore to 2 days and then 3 days.
Oh yeah.
And so now I do it every month when my cycle starts. I do a couple of days before I bring in stuff again and kind of let my microbiome shift. But you may need to bring in some kind of binder too when you do it.
Yeah, it's interesting because it shifts. I can go anywhere between 5 and almost 14 days zero carb before it happens, but it always happens at some point.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what's deciding that. That might also be hormonal. I haven't really paid attention to when in my cycle I've started it, so who knows?
Yeah,
Very
I would track
interesting.
that and then consider like even something as simple as activated charcoal at bedtime. See if it
Yeah,
helps.
I
Yum.
have that. I have clay as well because I
Yum.
use
Oh,
that together with the protocol I did for the fungus to in case I have internal fungus as well. So I have all the binders. No, not all the binders, but I have enough.
okay.
Man, this is a great stream. We got some chicken flour, we got some charcoal, we got some. This is a clay. This is great.
Hmm.
This is great. Delicious. Chris, how's your cake? So I think this is for you, Pim, because you said you're working with her. Since I am more carnivore, I'm feeling like I'm getting bored with just meat. I am lazy, so I like the simplicity, but how can you spice it up
Without the spice.
without the spice? Or without adding many carbs? Well, you're adding berries and avocado already.
I mean, depends on what you like. Um, yeah, I think everyone probably gets a little bit. Well, everyone, most people get a little bit bored with eating just carnivore. Um, I get, I don't get meat aversion, but I really get this. Oh, I can't eat meat, and I just have an egg day basically because I love eggs, and I just have lots of eggs in different forms. And if you like, cheese and dairy, add some cheese or cream cheese to
Oh my
scrambled eggs or
God.
whatever. That's
Cream
delicious.
cheese and steak is like the best pairing. I'm like addicted to adding cream cheese to my steak. People think I'm crazy, but oh my God, it's so delicious.
Yeah, I think just breaking it off with something different, or I don't know if you would even allow yourself to like marinate some prawns in garlic or something like that, because that's also with lots of butter. That's really nice, and it just breaks it up, and it's not the same as just eating a piece of meat. God, I'm losing my
Yeah.
voice. So
I
I
love
just
that
like
you're intuitive, Pim.
drink. Sorry, go on.
I love that you were intuitive. Like just sometimes I get the same way. Just some days I don't want the meat. And it's just,
Yeah.
you just write it out, it disappears. But
Yeah.
you've got to listen to what's going on.
You can make it differently too. Like, I do add some sauces to my meat to give it different flavorings. I'll make a lot of chilies and stews and soups. So I'm still eating the same foods, but I'm just kind of mixing it up how I cook it, and that helps a lot too. So you can just get creative with how you're preparing and how you're cooking your food too, without feeling the need to add in all these extra, carb sources and foods that you necessarily don't want to eat, unless you want to. But if you don't want to eat that, you could just cook your foods differently.
Yeah.
Is what I do.
I mean, sometimes I just decide that, well, I suppose that's not 100% carnivore, but sometimes I'm like, okay, I just can't stand cooked steak, so I eat my steak raw, and I just slice it very thinly, and I add some balsamic vinegar and olive oil to it. I know that's not carnivore. I know it's oil, but sometimes I'm like, that's delicious, and I'm just gonna do it. It's just about
Yeah,
it's a texture thing for me a lot of the time, I think, as well.
yeah. Sometimes eating a lot of meat all the time makes me like gag a little bit because I'm not used to eating as much beef because I didn't eat this food before I switched to low carb. So sometimes, like this morning, I was having steak and I'm like, ugh. And then the same with eggs. I'm just like over it. So sometimes that's when I'll throw in some chicken, or I'll throw in, maybe some extra bacon and things like that. So I don't eat steak all the time 365 because I do get sick of it. So that's when I'll throw in some different meats just to kind of mix it up a bit, and then I'll go back to steak and eggs and stuff the next day. I'm not carnivore though, so I do introduce other things. But yeah, I had that feeling this morning with the eggs and steak. I was over it.
Done.
Yes, done.
Until
So
tomorrow.
yes, so those who are in the chat, if you're not subscribed to myself and Pim, Jamie doesn't have a YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe. You can follow Jamie on Facebook. She's all about the Facebook and Instagram. What's your Instagram handle, Jamie?
Functional Wellness Collective.
Oh, there you go. Functional Wellness Collective.
Yeah. I don't think I could do carnivore long term without leaving some spice in. I like flavor. But one thing I think is important, unless you're doing carnivore for, you have a specific objective, like a goal, a health condition that you need to do it. people need to remember it's no different than keto when you say, this is my house, this is where I live, but it's okay to leave home and go, go to work, go on vacation, come back home, right? So you can say I'm primarily carnivore, but once in a while, my body's like, I'm sorry, I need something else. And it can, like, Pam, when you're being intuitive, like, just add something else in for a day or two, and your body will tell you when it's ready to go back home again. And I think it appreciates, it goes into that whole diet variation, metabolic manipulation. I know she's asking about fasting and OMAD, which is totally my jam.
Go for it. Go for it.
Whoa.
I'm huge into that. And I believe everybody should. I think we need to change up our eating windows. Our body figures this out. We can't eat the same thing every day. Our certainly hunter-gatherers didn't, right? It was just they go long periods until they found food, and then they gorged themselves. And
yeah, they ate a lot of tubers and a lot of pockets of people, depending on like the Hadza, I think ate a ton of honey and a ton of tubers. So it just depends on what was available in season and on the land and what they had access to. That's what they ate.
Absolutely. And it goes back again to the fact that we were born fat adapted, but really we're supposed to be able to flip between them both. It's just we're primarily fat adapted, but people lose the ability. We hand the baby the Cheerio and we think it's adorable, and we at that point turn them into carb burners, and they spend 50 years as a carb burner, and then they get sick and they want to become a fat burner, right? And they have a hell of a time getting into ketosis because their body doesn't remember how to do it. But if we can just really nurture that fat burning state, then when we do eat carbs and we flip into that carb burning mode for a day or 2 days or 3 days, you can be back in. Even when I do cycle carbs based on my female cycle, I'm back in ketosis within 12 hours. Testing, okay. No problem there. Like some people, they knock themselves out of ketosis and they truly struggle for days, weeks to get back in. And I've just done it for so long. My body's like, oh, this is my house. This is where I'm meant to be. And it just flips back in. But I vary my eating windows every day. You should not stay in a particular eating window for too long. Whether you're looking for autophagy or you're looking for weight loss, you really should do that. And then fasting is awesome. It's just, you got to pay attention to your health issues. And I like when people fast with an objective. Like, you got cancer, just put the fork down and don't pick it back up again. Just,
did you hear that, Chris?
Fast it away. Yeah. Cancer is the biggest one where I'm like, okay, say goodbye to food. Have that one last meal and bye-bye. Don't eat again. 30 days. I know it sounds crazy, but you can fast. And, but like people with thyroid issues shouldn't go over 18 hours. So it really depends on what, medical conditions you have.
Yeah. When it comes to OMAD and TUMAD, so I'm personally TUMAD. Sometimes I'll have a snack. So I guess sometimes I'll eat 3. It just depends on how much I eat. But if you are thinking of doing OMAD, and I know Pim knows you a lot better, but if you are thinking about doing OMAD, and this is for, anyone listening, you do have to make sure you're eating enough. So like if you're sitting in one meal and you're only able to take down, like me, I'm only able to take down like a piece of steak and 4 eggs, and that's it. I'm tapped out. So I can't do OMAD. I'm tapped out. I'm out. So I can't do OMAD. So if you're like that and you can't consume a large amount of food in one sitting, then I wouldn't recommend doing OMAD. I would recommend maybe trying TUMAD. Is pretty popular. With ketovores, the low carb community. I see a lot of TUMAD in there. But I don't know how you eat currently. Pim, I know DIMS.
Yeah, I don't know her menu really.
What's that?
I don't know exactly how much she's eating of everything. I just know her.
What are your thoughts on OMAD or TUMAD? Like, how many times do you eat a day?
I'm eating 2. If egg coffee breakfast most days, which is kind of stretched out. So that's my first meal, 4 to 5 eggs. And I'm like, just 4 eggs and a steak. I can do either of those, but not both. So that's probably why I need to eat twice. Or sometimes if I'm hungry in the evening, like when we talk about intuitive eating, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to eat. Like, my body's telling me that I need to eat. I don't care if it's 3 times, Sometimes I intentionally don't do it because I want to go for a longer fast. But if I am hungry, most of the time I would be like, okay, what protein is there? And I will focus on protein and maybe a little bit of fat in the evening, and that's it.
So are
And I want
you
to just
higher
say to
protein ketovore then?
no, but I'm struggling to eat enough protein. So if I'm
Okay.
going to have a third meal, then that's
Really?
my focus to try and get enough protein because
Okay.
that's always lacking for me. I just
Okay.
want to say to Jamie, I love you. Everything you just said before Nicole started talking, I'm like, oh yes, please spread the message. Like, I think we are so focused on like this is how we should do it, and this is the right way, and this is the wrong way. Like, we need to start listening to our bodies and what we want, and then
Mhm.
look at your personal situation. Like, one size does not fit everyone.
Right. Right.
As you say, like if you have cancer, put the fork down. Just don't eat.
Put the fork down. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Absolutely.
what's your priority? Is it to freaking heal, or is it to, yeah, well, I should be eating this much because otherwise I will lose some muscle mass. Yeah, maybe you will lose a little bit of muscle mass in 30 days, but if you're healthy, you're going to be able to build that back up. Like, don't worry too much
Nobody ever
about it.
looked at you at a funeral and been like, damn, look at the muscle mass on that dead guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but you're right. It's important. Like even for people who do OMAD and TUMAD, that you still need to vary things, but also it's not that we're eating less often.
Mhm.
We're allowing our body to stop assimilating food, get into autophagy, do the things it needs to do, where a lot of times people think when they go into OMAD or intermittent fasting of any kind, they're going to eat less calories and that's what's going to make them lose weight. You can do that. Like if one day you get busy, Nicole, and you only have a steak and that's all you have all day, awesome. You probably will drop some calories or, drop
Pounds. Yeah.
But you do that every single day and your body's going to be like, all right, well, she's only going to feed me 600 calories a day. So I'm going to downregulate.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're
Yep.
screwed. So you really
Yep.
do need to remember that if you're limiting the amount of times that you eat, you're going to have to eat more in that sitting, which goes to the point of what you're saying.
Yep.
If you can't eat enough in those, you're going to have to expand them and have the extra meal like you do. You know, I don't have a gallbladder and I know that makes a huge difference for me, but like I can only eat so much in a sitting. I even get over 500 calories and my body's like, are you effing kidding me?
Yeah.
Stop eating or you're going to be sick.
Yeah.
So I'm very conscious of that. So on gym days, I do get an extra meal in because I want that protein after I go to the gym, right? And that's fine. But then on non-gym days, I do cheat myself and go down to 2 meals a day. But I also know mentally I'm not getting enough calories that day. So I can't maintain that or else it's going to do more harm than good.
Yeah. Over time, you'll be able to listen to your body and trust your body too. So I eat typically, it's not the same time every day. It just depends on when I'm hungry, anywhere between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. for my first meal. And then sometimes I'll eat in between if I don't eat enough. If I'm hungry again, I'll eat before my last meal. Then my last meal is usually anywhere between 5 and 6 p.m. and that's it. But yeah, I pretty much eat when I'm hungry, stop eating when I'm full. I'll eat again when I'm hungry, stop eating when I'm full. Because if you're eating the right foods, you'll be able to be in tune with your body and be able to trust its signals. Unlike sugar, that's where problems come in, but that's not the same for proteins and fat. You can trust your body's signals depending on how long you've been doing it and how much you eat. And over time, you will be in tune and recognize true hunger vice emotional hunger. So because I was more so emotional hunger prior. So now I'm tapped into my true physical hunger and I'm able to trust my body. And I just eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full, and I can trust that now.
It's not even trusting the body, it's the mind playing tricks on us. And we let our mind override. It's the worst for me in the evenings. I have a husband who still has to snack in front of the TV at night. And so you sit next to him. And I know I'm clearly not hungry, but he comes over and he's got his drink and he's got his snack. And immediately my brain's going, you want that too. You want that too. And you have to stop listening to your head and just listen to your body. Does your stomach really need more food right now? Or is that your brain going, come on, go hang out with the cool kids?
That's what I'm calling emotional hunger right there. That's it.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing to get over. Mindset's huge.
So Dim says, I love 2 MAD, breakfast and late lunch, eat and end eating by 3 p.m. Yeah, if that works for you, like Jamie was saying, and I think we all agree. I wouldn't be so set in your times, like you can't eat beyond 3 if you're not hungry by 3. So yeah, I wouldn't be strict with the time, but yeah, if that works for you, then that's good.
Something I like doing is try to eat according to the circadian rhythm. Like when the sun goes down, I try to stop eating before that most of the time. Can be a little bit hard in winter, maybe, if I'm really hungry.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, there are plenty of studies showing that your metabolism works better in the morning. You are less insulin resistance. Everything just works better. And
Yeah.
I think that's what we're supposed to be doing. But having said that, when you think about like what the tribes were doing in the past, they might have been out like hunting all day and then feasting at night, and then they would probably just continue eating until I was gone, and then that would just last for a few days. So I don't like this. You have to do this.
Yeah.
I think we can just play around with it, and
Yeah.
maybe it was beneficial for them to be a bit insulin resistant at the time so that they could actually store that. It's just that it's not beneficial for us when we do it all the time.
Right. We have access to food 24/7.
Yeah, and if we don't, we panic.
Yeah.
You better believe it. I have meat bars in my car at all times.
Okay.
I'm afraid to run out of food, which is so funny because I consciously fast. But the moment somebody says, Jamie, put the fork down, I'm like, no. Quick, shove some meat bars in there.
I think that's the quote of the stream. Put the fork down.
Put the fork there.
Put the fork
That's
down.
all you gotta do.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I was kidding.
Yeah, put the fork down.
Put the fork down. Let's
I
talk
want
about
to ask
personal
Jamie
training.
something, if that's okay. Something that you touched on before. You were saying like we are born being fat burners, and but like we're opportunistic. We will eat whatever we find. If we find some roots, we can eat the roots if they're edible, and
Tree
some
bark.
berries and whatever. Yeah, exactly. We'll chew on anything. We'll just try it as babies. And but like the problem now is that most people in their, let's say 50s, 60s maybe, they've been eating a standard American diet for most of their lives. They are really metabolically damaged, and they can't have almost any carbs without the whole system because the mitochondria is damaged, and you know the insulin response is just over the top. Maybe they're pre-diabetic or whatever. Like, have you helped people through that to go back to eating more of a paleo diet, I suppose? And you know, have you seen, like, is there a time frame? Do you have anything to say about that?
I mean, I work with seniors a lot, but I'll let Jamie go.
No, do you want to start?
No, go for it.
Girlfriend, go.
Go for it. Put the
It's an
fork
open
down. Is that what
question.
you're gonna say? Put the fork down.
You know, it does take time, and just again to be on that kick. I mean, if you've got the people that are thinking that fat and cholesterol, the boogeyman, it's going to take a mindset shift to start with anyway, because otherwise their body's not going to get into it. But
yeah,
I usually have to supply them with some bile salts to help break it down. More often than not, they need more stomach acid. And then that really helps it. Like a lot of people, they have such aversions to meat, and you know, it's low stomach acid, or they have aversions to fat, you know, they have a bile issue. And if they haven't been eating that way this whole time, then even if they do have their gallbladder and they have bile, it's like sludge up in there. It's not going to come down. So it does take time to work on that. But I've seen the shift. You know, I have a lot of, I call them 187-year-old people with brain fog, because like we were talking about, they've never done diets. They've just their whole life, they've listened to what society has told them to do. And then they're not just sick, they're beyond sick. Like they don't remember from the beginning of the conversation to the end what we talked about having to do. And so, yeah, they're my 187 with brain fog. And it happens. They can shift. It takes time. I've watched it take weeks of literally almost no carbs before finally all of a sudden, you know, they test their ketones and they're like, holy crap, it happens. But if they want to get if they want to reduce their inflammation, they're going to have to eventually. I mean, you can fast, and I know the big thing also is intermittent fasting. And then if you only eat one meal a day, you can eat as shitty as you want, and you're not going to gain weight. Well, that goes back to the whole, you didn't eat all day. You're reducing your calories. You are putting yourself into autophagy for 23. By the time you get there, it takes about 14 hours. But you're putting yourself in autophagy for a while. Of course, you're going to see some benefit, but it's going to stall. If we put them into fat burning mode using carnivore, keto, and just let them eat. Let them nutrify their tissues so their organs can run. They're going to be better in the long run, truly. And again, they're getting rid of that brain fog that they come in with. And that's to me, that's so fascinating, because when I'm talking about that energy, you get an elderly person that comes to you and is like hyped up on energy all of a sudden. You're like, yep, their body just flipped. They're in ketosis. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I like that you touched on mental, because I gave a talk at a senior community local to me, and I was given a workshop, and I talked about fat, 'cause it's Dementia Awareness Month for June. So I was talking about the importance of fat, and I got a lot of questions because there's an actual true fear of consuming fat, because I was SnackWells, right? So I was like in the middle of it, but they were in the beginning, like when this whole thing started, like this whole, restriction and deprivation and doing crazy shit to make food taste bad and stuff. It was crazy how they grew up and how they've demonized fat. So when I gave the talk, everyone but one person raised their hand pro fat. Everyone else question saturated fat, because there is this true fear of saturated fat, of eating red meat and all that stuff. So it's like Jamie said, it's slowly, yes, physically they're able to do it, but you have to get through that mental barrier is step one. And then step two is it depends on how old they are too, because if you're working with someone who's 70, 75 years old or even older, they're really set in their ways. And
we're talking about 187 here. Stick to the plan.
All right. So if you're like 800 years old, you're like set in your ways, and you want stuff that tastes good because of the biological changes that are happening as you age that naturally want you to gravitate towards certain foods, but you can make good foods taste good. But that's the other thing that you're kind of struggling with when it comes to the older population, is the shifts that they're naturally going through as they age. And it's just a lot of education, and maybe even at times trickery, like diluting their OJ and stuff like that a little bit. I'm not saying I've done that before.
Or chicken flour.
Or chicken flour. Yeah, but I just wanted to add that there's a lot of things that happen biologically as you age that lead to, sarcopenia, the malabsorption and all those things. So it's more than just putting someone on keto or carnivore. It's really understanding what's going on biologically to understand how to make that shift happen. So that's all I wanted to say on that.
Yeah, but now you're going into the digestion conversation, which is a whole nother soapbox, right?
Hold on. You might be able to get on your soapbox here. So carnivore trucker, the other day I had a whole pound of ground beef. Damn, 6 slices of bacon and a whole rotisserie chicken. Oh, was that the chicken from Boston Market? I think he had Boston Market chicken. He said it was too sweet. Wow, 6 slices of bacon and a whole rotisserie chicken for my one meal. Damn, dude. Good for you.
Yeah.
I'm
full just thinking of that.
I'm wondering, have you measured your blood sugar after eating that whole meal? I would be interested to see how much gluconeogenesis you get going eating that much protein in one sitting.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Wow, that is a lot.
Some good fats in there for sure.
Yeah.
So. Just stop.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the only protein source you had in one meal, but then you're getting it from the ground beef, there's such thing as too much of a good thing. But I would be curious that too. That's a good point.
I mean, it must be easily over 200 grams of protein in that meal.
Yeah.
So tell us about those meat sweats.
Ooh, buddy. Yeah. And the protein farts. Ooh, buddy. Ooh, I smelled some stinky ones at my old job. He would like pound protein powder like all day long. I never went over to his area. He would call me over. I was like, no, sir. I was like, no, sir.
Isn't
It's
that
funny.
a protein powder issue though, rather than real protein?
I don't know. He would eat a lot. He would eat protein too, but it was like constant. Oh my God, it was so bad.
Well, you
It
can
was-
answer that question, Pim. Do you get gassy after eating 5 eggs?
Actually, no.
Never.
Well,
No.
there you
The steak I eat, they're like, it's not a full steak. They're like the little mini steak things. It's not like a full T-bone. When I eat the eggs with it, they're like the thinly sliced pieces of steak that I'm eating, not like a whole T-bone.
How much
and
does it
4
weigh?
eggs. The steak, I can send you a picture on IG. It's literally like
Walk
this
through.
big and it's super thin. They're like little thinly sliced, like that, maybe that big, like lengthwise.
That
And
looks like a
super
cocktail
thin.
sausage.
It's what?
Looks like a cocktail sausage. Just
Yeah, maybe about that size. Yeah, they're not big pieces of steak at all.
Okay, I'll believe you.
I swear. All right, Cancer. How long of fast do you recommend? Because you were talking about put the fork down.
Yeah, how long can you go? That's the question.
How long can you go?
How long can you go? When's your next scan? I would fast till your next scan, see if you can get some shrinkage going. That's honestly, it feeds. They've done. There's a cancer center. I want to say it's in Florida, and they put everybody. They cut all of their carbs, all of their sugar out for a couple of days before they get their scans, because the cancer lights up like a Christmas tree if they feed them sugar. It thrives on it. And if you just quit eating, I've known people who have quit eating and watched their tumor shrink.
Yep.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, it feeds on sugar 100%.
Yeah.
And that's the same with all matters of the brain too. Like if you're feeding it nothing but sugar, that's where it starts to malfunction, and you start with the Alzheimer's and dementia and depression and anxiety, all that stuff. It's like me putting olive oil in my Jeep instead of gasoline. I was like, yeah, it may get me from point A to point B. It's certainly going to sound like shit and run like shit, but it'll work. So that's the same with providing your body the wrong fuel. If you're not providing your body the right fuel, it's going to run. It's going to get you from point A to point B. It may not be a pleasant experience and a pleasant journey, but you'll get there.
That's an excellent way to put that.
Thank you. I just came up with that today.
There's a lot of shit bombs going around in here.
A lot of shit. And put the forks down. Drop us a like, man.
Love Nicole.
Thanks, personal training. Shout out to UK over there. UK personal trainer. Everyone, don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you.
Yeah, up there.
Carnivore Trucker was hungry. I bet you, with that full rotisserie chicken and the bacon and the damn dude. But you didn't answer the fart question.
Yeah. Did you? Gassy.
We require an answer to that one.
Type it in the chat.
Yeah.
I do change things up, of course, but I get heartburn at night if I eat too late. Lots of healing to go. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like you're on the right path, though.
Carl.
What's up, Carl? Pim, this your friend?
Yes, he's a Kiwi. Fellow Kiwi.
Another Kiwi in the house. We got UK. Yeah. We got Kiwis. We just got... Jamie and I are neighbors, actually practically one county apart, Northern Virginia. Never met in person, though. Crazy.
Small world, though. We will.
So Carl says, I have a friend, 5 weeks carnivore, everything going okay for him after 5 meals. He has a bad taste in his mouth, and he thinks it's from his tongue. Can you help? What you got, Pim?
I think that's probably more Jamie's area, but I suspect that it's a microbiome issue and the die-off thing, and maybe some detoxing going on. Help? I'm not sure.
Well, I was going to wonder. I was not meaning to laugh, but I'm not sure that's a carnivore thing. Like, do we have some yeast in his mouth? Maybe. I mean, if it's a metallic taste or something, then yeah, I would lead, like you're saying, to a microbiome shift or something. But if his tongue tastes bad, maybe he's got yeast or something in his mouth.
Yeah.
Brush
Did
it.
your friend eat meat like beef and all that stuff before switching to carnivore? I mean, what was their diet like before switching? I mean, that can make a difference too, obviously, because when I first switched, like I said, I didn't eat red meat at all. Like I probably had steak I can count on one hand throughout my entire life before I switched to what I'm doing now. And yeah, it didn't taste pleasant for me at first either. I had to get used to it, but it depends on if he's eaten these foods before, what he ate beforehand. Yeah, I think we just need more information, at least from my point of view. I don't know about Jamie.
I want to know the source too. Is he eating bad
Yeah.
meat or is he eating clean?
Yeah.
Grass-fed meat, because if that's all you're doing is eating meat and it's poorly sourced, then what's the meat giving you? Maybe he is getting toxic with something.
Some inflammation from the cow.
Yeah, I think.
Thank you, carnivore trucker. I think you're lying, but I got you.
I mean, I remember the first time my partner went carnivore. His breath could fucking kill the neighborhood for months. And I was like, this is not okay. Like, go and brush your teeth every other hour or something, because this is bad. Yeah, my nose is oversensitive, so I'm a little bit unfair maybe. but it was horrendous. And I'm like, if that's what you're going to smell like,
She's like, I'm out.
She's like,
yeah, I'm out.
bro.
Yeah. So I think, like, I don't know. It must have been a microbiome thing and maybe a die-off and that sort of thing. But now it's not. It's not ongoing forever. So
Yeah.
maybe you just have to, actually use some antiseptic of some kind. Maybe what's it called? Oil pulling with some coconut oil or whatever. Like, try different things. Brush your tongue, doing those kind of things to make it taste less awful for a while, and then hopefully they will just go away. But I know it took a while for him, even though I was probably the one noticing it the most.
Yeah.
But you made a good point. When people do get into ketosis, I mean, one of the signs is bad breath. So it can take longer for some people than others. And it's not just the microbiome, it's also the pH, their actual pH shifts. So
yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. If you're eating high carb, obviously things change when you switch the way you're eating. It's that shift. I never had that. I don't know if I had the bad breath. If I did, my husband never told me, and he's so kind. I don't think I did though.
You didn't notice him like, yes, Nicole?
No.
Everybody does a little bit. He's just a good man.
He is French, so yes, a good variety.
Yeah. French people can cook meat, that's for sure.
Yeah, I talked to Beyond the Scale. She's from France, and she was telling me that her and her son came to New York on vacation, and our butter here in the United States, it's not shocking because our food quality in the United States is just dookie. But she said that our butter was one of the nastiest things she's ever eaten. She said her butter in France is like yellow, like the color of egg yolk. I was like, really? Ours is like white. She's like, yeah, it's disgusting. I was like, now I want real butter. I want to know what actual butter tastes like. But yeah, she said our food here was not good. Not shocking.
I don't want to know what your butter is like.
Yeah, I don't know any different. I don't know. Jamie, what do you think? Like, have you been anywhere and had butter in other countries?
I went to Ireland and it was definitely different. But, I went to Ireland, was able to eat it's before I was even, keto, and I was able to have grains and gluten and have no issues. Just
interesting.
Food is so different in other countries. And my sister-in-law is actually a celiac. And of course she lives on the edge. She's good here, and she went over to England and she ate gluten pastries every single day and had no issues.
Wow. I mean, I guess that's not surprising. I mean, our food quality here is just so bad.
Yeah.
Because I went to Jordan a few years ago, I think in 2018, like right before, a couple years before COVID, and their meat was, I had their shawarma, which is like marinated chicken, is so good. But just the quality of the chicken was just so much better than it is here in America. Like just every time I travel, I'm just like overseas, like outside of the United States. It's just amazing to me how much better the food quality is compared
Mhm.
to what we're eating over here. I don't know. What do you have you been to the United States, Pim?
No, that's the thing. I don't really know what you guys talk about, but
You
I
don't
heard
want
it from so many
Yeah, I was gonna say you're
people.
not missing anything.
No, I mean you have fake cheeses and fake everything, and it's
Yeah,
just like, and I can't even relate to it. And I'm thinking, when people here in, let's say in New Zealand, they're like, "Oh, do I really need to get it grass fed?" Like everything is grass fed. Yeah,
I
maybe
know.
some of it might be grain finished, but overall, like the quality of the meat, the quality, like all butter is grass fed. Like there
It's
is
so
no,
crazy.
there's so much land here and so much
Yeah.
grass and so many hills, and there is no need to do anything different. So the quality even of like the cheapest supermarket butter that you can find is still going to be good in this country. So I'm lucky to be living here, and I can't even. I'm just thinking. I'm from Sweden originally, for those of you who don't know, and even there, I think the food quality is so much better than.
Oh yeah.
um, I just can't relate to it. The only thing I know, like when I moved from Sweden to the UK, and I once went to buy some shredded coconut, I came home with a packet with shredded coconut with sugar in it, and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
what is this?
UK
Who
is similar. UK is similar to the United States now.
Yeah, who adds sugar to shredded coconut
Yeah,
and why?
we
And
do.
I didn't even think about looking at the packet
Yeah.
because it never occurred to me that that was an option. So after that, I
Yeah.
learned to really check everything, and just moving back here feels so much more like being at home, and it feels like people are genuine, the food is genuine, like everything is more
Your
natural
food
than
is food.
UK. And the UK, I think, is copying America a
So is
lot.
Australia now.
I don't know. I've
Yeah.
only been there very, very briefly on the way here. So
Yeah. Well,
Well,
we have some hoops to jump through too. So we were beef farmers before we moved in this house a couple years ago, and that's
nice.
what we did when we raised our kids. And there's so many hoops to get certified organic in order to sell it that way. That
Mm.
it wasn't worth it to the farmers. So everybody around us would be like, "You guys are crazy. You're spending so much more money, or you're losing money in the end." And we did it because we wanted to eat it, right? We
Yeah.
wanted organic ourselves, but yeah, it's just all the
Yeah.
labeling and everything they make them do is just not worth it.
It's
well, the
crazy.
labeling you can't trust either because there was a meat company that was slapping the organic, certified organic, whatever on their packaging, and they weren't. And there was actual lawsuit. I forget what meat company it was because this was years ago, but there was an actual lawsuit because they were claiming organic, but they weren't organic. Like you can't trust anything anymore.
Now,
So
and they
Dim
use
says our food in America is crap because big pharma has to make a profit.
Yeah,
have you
we didn't say it. It was dimps.
What's that?
We didn't say it. It was dimps.
Yep, it was Dim's. She's not wrong.
Shh.
Maybe. Maybe.
Maybe. Oh God.
So what do you got what do you got on that, Jamie? Because I know you said that you were into farming and all that. So what do you think about that? What Dim said?
oh, I absolutely believe it. It's the truth. The truth. Like I was thinking about the labels. Like I tell people all the time, they'll buy ingredients or something has an ingredients, and it'll say 95% organic ingredients in this product. And I'm like, okay, so they can have 5% arsenic, but as long as there's 95% organic ingredients, they get to put that label on there and you're gonna
Yeah.
buy it.
Well, that's the same with things that are zero. If it's below a certain percentage, they can claim zero, but nothing's ever truly zero. So you think you're buying zero sugar stuff. I'm like, nope, there's sugar in there.
Yeah, all canned vegetables are that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why they
It's
taste
insane.
so good. They're so much better.
Yeah.
Yep.
So cool. Well, are there any other questions in the chat? If there are any questions, drop them in the chat. But yeah. So Pim, Jamie, this was definitely tons of fun. Just chatting, and interacting with those who showed up. So thank you to everyone who showed up and hung out with us this afternoon. It was tons of fun. If you have any questions and are watching the replay, just drop it on who's ever you're watching, and we'll monitor the
anyway.
comments and try to get to you. But be sure to subscribe and like all of our socials, Jamie,
Yes.
Pim, and myself. Give us support, help us grow our channels. But are there any final words from you guys, Pim and Jamie?
I should say that I think we should do this again. And
Yeah.
secondly, I just want to share this when you were talking about like you can't trust the labels. At one point in the UK, I was working in a quality control lab, not for food as such, but they were making tinctures, like herbal tinctures, and there was a blend, and that was supposed to be certified organic. And they didn't have one of those, which was probably 40% of the blend, in the organic form. So they took a horse tincture and added it, and then wanted me to slap the organic label on there, and I refused, which pretty much led to me being fired later because the relationship between me and my boss wasn't very good after that.
Ooh.
So cheating goes on everywhere, and I was like, no, I'm here because I'm interested in people's health, and I want things to be done right. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in a quality control lab. So
Wow.
I'm not the least surprised. This is going on everywhere. You can't trust the labels.
Yeah.
Sure, they would have made it organic if they had it, but when they need to make the sale and they need to deliver to the customers, they will
Yep.
just take whatever they want and have someone sign it. And the
Yep.
other people working there said this had happened before, and people were always being threatened with being fired if they didn't sign it. So I refuse to put my name on it. So
That's crazy. I mean, nutrition labels can be, I mean, I'm sure everyone in this chat knows that they could be 20% off. And the thing is they're regulated by the FDA, at least here in America. They're regulated by the FDA, only that they have to have certain things on the label, not how much of these certain things are in there. They don't get that detailed. It's just you're required. Vitamin C is not a requirement. That's why you hardly ever see it on the label. But you have all these things that are required to be there. But if you look at dietary supplements, a lot of them you'll see proprietary blend. That usually means a lot of that stuff is highly underdosed. You're not getting nearly what you think you're getting from those. But yeah, because it's not regulated, so they can put whatever they want in these supplements and just put prop blend, and they can get away with it. So you have no idea what you're consuming, what you're actually consuming when you're taking protein powders, pre-workouts, like any of these supplements that a lot of people take. You have no idea what you're really taking.
Yeah. So if you,
it's not good.
Yeah,
it's special. It's a secret.
Put the fork down.
Yeah, the supplement.
Put the fork down. And know your farmer.
Yeah, big pharma. Well, I know I don't have a YouTube channel, so I'm not one of the cool kids, but I do have Instagram and Facebook, so I'd love for people to join me over there for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely do this again, but RV there yet. That's a badass name, by the way. Late as usual. Hey, I just found Nutrition Talk. Hey, thanks. Awesome. Yes, another one would be great. Looking forward to the replay. Thanks all. Awesome. Be sure to subscribe to Pim's channel too.
Yes. Just search my name, Pim Johnson, and I don't even have the full name in my doings. I should edit it.
Yeah. RV there yet said good on you, Pim, on the labeling, quality control. But yeah, we'll definitely do this again. If there's a topic you actually want us to discuss, or we could just come on here and just chit chat, kind of like we did today, and just hang out. We could just answer questions. But if there's a specific topic you want us to touch on, definitely let us know. But yeah, we'll definitely plan another one. I'm sure. Pim, I know Jamie, you down? I'm sure we're all down, right?
Yeah, give us your topics, man. Let us go on our soapboxes. That's what we do.
Yeah, Jamie's soapbox is what is your soapbox?
Everything.
My soapbox is freaking grains. I hate grains, and this whole fiber crap. So I can go on my soapbox on fiber, and then I can go on my soapbox on senior nutrition, like the garbage that they're the dietary guidelines. But yeah, let us go on our soapboxes. We could just do that. Pim, what's your soapbox?
You know what? I was told off on social media about a week and a half ago that I was never actually sugar addicted because if you were, then you wouldn't be able to ever have it again. So that really sets me off, and I'm like, fuck you. You don't know anything about me.
Yeah, are we equating this to a heroin addict? Like you can't put the needle back in your arm just once?
Yeah. No, totally refuse to acknowledge that maybe I'm delusional if I think that I was doing that, or I'm in denial, or I'm this, or I'm that, because there is no way that someone who's properly addicted to sugar can ever have it again without falling off the wagon and going on a binge. And there was no talking to this person, and I, it was her social media, and I couldn't help, I had to. I usually don't comment on other people's posts, but I did because that statement just made me like, hey, I beg to disagree. I think there's actually a way of doing this because I'm teaching people how to do it, and I've done it myself. I think it's very dangerous to say, like, be so black and white as to say that either you can never have it again or you're always going to be an addict. Like, there is a middle, and I think it's important that people know that there is a middle. And she was of the opposite opinion that no, we cannot moderate, and that is what is dangerous. So yeah, that's my soapbox. And
I had the same
you had
thing
me go on a
happen.
rant straight away.
No, I had the same thing happen to me just last week, actually. So I do reaction videos on my channel, and I'm very respectful. I don't comment on looks. It's just the food. But I did a reaction video of Mick the vegan reacting to Carnivorous Me, I think it's her channel. So she's dropped a ton of weight doing the carnivore diet, and there was no point to his channel. But she made a comment like, I'm addicted. I have a sugar addiction or sugar problem. I don't remember which word she used. So I can never have these things again. And all I did was, in my reaction, I just commented, because I came from it from my experience, because I had binge eating tendencies. I would binge on sugar. Like, I had a legit problem. I could not stop myself. And I did cut it out for a while, but I eat chocolate every day. I'll have a piece of chocolate every day. And I stopped there. So that's all I said was, I don't think you have to abstain for the rest of your life. I think you can control it over time and all these things. And then people were in my comments, or at least one person adamantly disagreed and all that stuff. But I didn't want to get an internet war. But they equate this stuff, and I understand there's studies that equate sugar to cocaine and drugs, and I understand it lights up the brain, all that stuff. But I think, and I know Pim and I talked about this, I think, yes, you have a problem, but I think you would be able to control the problem over time. But for me, it was I went through therapy, I did all these things, and now I can control it. I think it is a whole mental game and rewiring your brain. And I know that's what Pim talks about a lot, but I had the same experience though. I'm able to eat chocolate and control it.
Yes.
But I had people comment on my video at the same thing, like adamantly disagreeing. So there's definitely a lot of people out there that think that if you have a problem with one thing, you can never have it again.
Yeah, it's definitely a mindset shift. And there's another soapbox for me. You got to think of the microbiome, because the microbiome does 90% of the communication to the brain. So when the brain is saying you're addicted to something, who's driving the car down here is normally the bad bugs. You have dysbiosis, you have candida, you get rid of that with a carnivore diet, right? Shift that microbiome, you'll stop craving those things.
Yep.
You bring in the mindset like Pim and say, I choose this consciously. I'm not going to be pissed off after I eat it. I'm choosing to have it. I'm going to not have it again for a week. And I mean, that's hard, but those are the missing pieces of those people.
Yeah.
Right there.
It's possible. You just have to put in the work and know when to put the fork down. It's full circle. It's full circle, Jamie. Full circle.
Yeah. I just need to add something that happened to me very recently when I was doing this protocol that I was talking about. I haven't had any crazy cravings for over a year and a half, and I had mental cravings. It was driving me crazy, and I was resisting them. I was like, this should not be happening to me. I have already worked through this. Why is this happening? And I got into this victim mentality for like 3 days. And then I was like, oh, yeah, okay. I just have to work through it the way that I'm teaching my clients to do it.
Yeah.
It went away. And I think that was 100% triggered by something happening in my body with my microbiome.
Oh, so, yeah. But again, you were being intuitive. Like you were like, okay, something has shifted.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give in. I'm going to, and you could have given in, but at that point, you knew it was best for your body. You were trying to figure out it wasn't your body saying it needed it, like you weren't deficient in something, but that it was just that shift. I think that's cool.
Yeah, but I did not want to deal with it. Let's put it like that.
I did a live yesterday, or I don't know, recently, and we were talking about this very topic. Like, someone asked a question, is addiction genetic? And I responded, and someone added to it, but I don't think it's genetic. I think you are taught habits and behaviors, but I think there are physiological things that happen when you're in an emotional state, whether it's happy, sad, depressed, whatever, things happen. So you can't control necessarily what your hormones, your cortisol, all that stuff's doing, but you can control how you respond to those things. And that's all mental, and that's all, being conscious and aware and working on your mindset, whether that's going through therapy, whether it's keeping a food journal and logging, how you're feeling during that meal, before, during, after, whatever you have to do. But you can control how you respond to your cravings and your urges. You can't necessarily control what your hormones are doing, because that's all happening internally, but you can control how you respond to those feelings and urges.
It's responding to the
100%.
stimuli. Yeah.
What's that?
You're responding to the stimuli.
Correct.
But I will say, I believe there can be a genetic component.
Okay.
Conversation for another day. However, epigenetics can sway genetics, right? We can turn it on and off as quick as whenever we want by modifying our epigenetics. And that's why you get families where, a couple of them are alcoholics, and then you have one that defies it all. And everybody's like, I don't understand. Does he have a good constitution? So I think there is a susceptibility in people. It's just whether or not it gets flipped.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I can see that point. I was coming at it more so like from a physiological, like how our bodies naturally like respond to those things isn't coming from those cravings. In my opinion, those cravings and urges are just a natural biological, physiological response, not necessarily my mom ate a ton of donuts, so now I'm prone to eating a ton of donuts. Like, that's what I think of when I think of genetics, because my mom ate donuts. Now I'm going to be addicted to donuts because now I have that donut gene. You know what I mean? Like, that's
what defy your genetics.
Yeah, you can defy your donut gene. Put the fork down, step away from the table.
Yeah.
I'm going to be very Swedish, and I'm going to go in the middle, and I'm going to say that I think that everyone is predisposed to it, because we have the reward pathways to actually get addicted to anything. If it's in an abnormal, if it's giving you an abnormal reward, like that just lights up your brain. So anything that is not natural can actually be addictive to anyone. And then obviously some people don't get addicted to food. It's just not their cup of tea or their cup of sugar. I don't know.
Yeah.
And some people like me, I could not get addicted to alcohol. Like, there's nothing in alcohol that entices me at all.
That's true.
And I think that's probably partially genetic.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I have a brother who's a chain smoker, but he doesn't drink. And I'm like, seriously?
Yep.
I mean, neither one's good, but I'm like, of the two,
Yeah.
I've chosen a glass of wine over a cigarette. And I know a lot of people who pride themselves on not drinking, but they have the most disordered addiction to food. And so,
yeah, I think we're all kind of saying similar things, just in different ways.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like different views on looking at it, but coming to the same, like, similar conclusion.
Yeah.
So Dim says cortisol due to chronic stress is affecting my progress, but I'm working on it. Yeah, it's crazy what your hormones do. Maybe we'll talk about this. Maybe this will be the topic of discussion. Maybe we'll talk about not necessarily addiction, but maybe just why we have cravings and why things happen. So maybe we can have this a point of discussion, and then kind of just sit here and chat again, because it seems like we could talk about this for days, and we all have, but we're coming at it from different experiences. And I think we have similar conclusions, but approach it from a different thought process. So I think it's a very interesting conversation with how each of us kind of view and explain this topic. So I think it's interesting with the three different similar but different point of views.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it.
Like, I know you work with DIMS, right? So I'm sure you have some story back on her, but like, I'm looking at her talking about her cortisol and thinking
Yeah.
about the fact that, you know, bad stress on the body raises the cortisol.
Yeah.
She's not in hormesis.
Adrenaline.
Yeah. And she's probably in a sympathetic state way too much.
Yeah.
So lots of cool things that are not food related that she could work on.
Yeah, no, Dims doesn't have a sugar addiction. She's in a community that I'm working with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not necessarily, like I said, not necessarily a topic for addiction per se, just like our hormonal response, like we were talking about the reward system and cravings, like Dims is struggling with her progress because of stress. Our bodies react the same way. It doesn't distinguish between emotions. So we have the same hormonal response that's happening, that trigger, you know, some people to have cravings. Some people are super stressed in the sympathetic nervous system and their hunger is suppressed. Some people have increased hunger and craving. So we each respond differently, but our hormones are responding in a similar manner, no matter what the emotional state is. So I think this is an interesting topic of conversation. I think each of us are experienced enough in this topic to where we can all touch on it too.
Absolutely. Because you're right.
Sure.
I mean, stress is a stress to the body.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%. Well, awesome. Jamie, do you have any closing remarks? I know we had Pim's closing remarks and then I kind of got sucked up in chat again. But
That opened another can of worms.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this was wonderful. I'd love to hear some topics that people want us to kind of flesh out. That would be interesting. I mean, obviously we were all over the place today and I think we had some great conversation, but if they really want us to hone in on something specific, I'd love to hear it. But
yeah,
otherwise,
I figured the first one we could just come on here and just like chit chat and just kind of see where the conversation goes. But if people are interested in a particular topic, then yeah, we could definitely plan a specific topic. So be sure to comment on wherever you're watching this stream. Be sure to comment what topic you want us to cover on the next stream, and we'll get one scheduled. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone who had fun and hung out with us and tuned in and engaged. Thank you all for your support and for hanging out with us. And thank you for Pim and Jamie for joining me on this live stream. I definitely appreciate you guys hanging out, and Pim, you know, super early in the morning for you. So thank you for starting your day with us.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys. We will do this again and see you again in the near future. Have a happy and healthy day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.